Quilt makers, I have another fantastically easy and fun quilting tutorial for all of you today. It's a basic chain block, but by mixing up the colors, we could call this the rainbow checkered chain or something amazingly fun like that. Either way, I'm going to teach you how to make the whole project. Are you ready? Let's get stitching. Well, welcome back everybody to yet another terrific Learn to Quilt tutorial with yours truly. My name is Rob Appell. We call the show so well and we appreciate you all following along with us here at Stitchin Heaven. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so. We've got links to all the info you need down in the description below as we dive into this project. And I'm just realizing now I didn't create a supply list, and I'm kind of sorry and I'm kind of not, because I love teaching you all how to do these yourselves. Of course, you can do them out of your stash. Of course, you can do them out of our stash at stitchinheaven.com. It's a beautiful one, but this is a really simple and fun project. This is probably one of the wonkier of the blocks. If you look at my points and my edges, well, my points are good, but my edges not so much. We'll get to that in a few minutes. But don't be discouraged. I want to show you again, this is a speed quilt, a super easy quilt, and it's a basic chain block. So please close your eyes, put on your imaginations, and then I guess you'd have to open them again. And imagine if each one of the colored squares you saw was blue. Maybe two tones. So you could do this as a monochrome, keeping your background all the same, and it would be very simple. And this is one of the two blocks that we featured in our New Year's Day quilt, or for our New Year's Mystery Sew Along. This was the chain block that I picked up from Tiffany Hayes. I've just kind of recolored it, but it's the same construction and even the same size format as well. So these are 2.5 inch strips that we're going to build here, and I do have that information I will give you as your supply list. But again, what I want to talk about now is, I was mentioning, it's a basic chain block, but we're just going to make some fun colors happen so that we get a little bit more of a rainbow going. And if you look at the project here on the wall with that rainbow, you get a couple of things. We get a really neat checkerboard that we built out here, but we also get another checkerboard that forms as the blocks come together. There's a whole other version of ways that you can put this block by block together where the like colors will start to touch in the squares, and you can see that here. I'm not as fond of that unless I'm using a theme style fabric, because it gets a little bit blocky where you can start to see the reds are blocked out, the yellows are blocked out. So for something like this particular quilt here on the wall where we're using basics, we're going to be able to, I'm just going to encourage you to go with this checkerboard chain, we'll call it today. And in order to build that checkerboard and or our chain blocks, we're doing it all with strips, folks. And like I said, we have a bit of a supply list, and that's going to be taking 3 colored fabrics from your warm pile and your cool pile, let's say, and pairing them with your background. So hopefully you can see this now as I lay them out. But 3 of my fabrics, 1, 2, 3, from one side of the chain, and then 4, 5, and 6 from the other side of the chain. So you need equal parts of your strips, and all of these strips right now are cut at 2.5 inches by the width of the fabric, and they've all been sewn together with the 1/4 inch seam allowance. Super simple, Simon. So all you really have to do is pick which 2 contrasting colors you want to have on both ends of your rainbow here, where you're going to build them as a 2-part strip before we build our checkerboards, or here where they touch in the rotation. So that's where these 2 fabrics come into play. Hopefully that makes sense on the design wall, and it will certainly make sense as we begin starting to sew these together. One of the things I always like to do with my strip sets is I sew them from the same end, even if I'm building on multiples. Press them all over to one side so we have a nice clean seam allowance, and we're going to use that seam allowance to go ahead and trim down our subcuts, which are also going to be 2.5 inch subcuts. So let me show you how that works, and it will probably be easiest for you all to see it if we just use our 2 color strip for our first checkerboard. Now, one of the things I absolutely love is this little 2.5. I know it seems silly, but it's the small, simple tools that make life so easy. This is one of our 2.5 inch wide rulers. It's made by Creative Grids. We've got our name on it at Stitchin Heaven, and I absolutely love it because I know I'm cutting each and every strip the same, and that's why, sorry if I got going too fast, you always want to make your strips as wide of a cut as you want to make your subcut. So these are 2.5 inches. So now our subcut is 2.5 inches. And that's why I love this little ruler here that we got at Stitchin Heaven. So anyways, I can come down now and I'm just going to start slicing down, but I'm really watching the center line on the ruler, because if I set that on my seam, I'm getting a nice, clean, crisp square cut on both sides. And as we go through here and whittle down, take your time. Don't go too fast. You don't want to have an injury of any kind there. And if for any reason you were going to start, maybe even if you slipped or maybe your sewing went poorly or something like that, if you ever need to re-square up, of course, just look at the line on your fabric, the seam allowance. If you had to re-square, you could square this edge and then come back and continually cutting your 2.5 inch sub cuts. Okay? Now, one of the cool things with the strips of color, I pressed everything into the colored strip. For our 2-color strip, I pressed everything to the dark side, if you haven't heard that before. Now all we're going to do is we're going to grab 2 of them, rotate them, but because they've been pressed to the dark side, now this little seam nests. And this is one of the reasons why doing these kinds of sewing in strips is actually easier. It does all of the ironing in one direction in advance. So now as I come on over to my seam allowance here, my 1/4 inch foot, I'm just going to stitch down. And I've got an edge guide on the machine today that I'm using for all of my seams. So they all stay the same. That really helps with my accuracy. And I'm going to go ahead. Oh, my iron's flashing. It means it wants my attention. So I'm going to get over here real quick. And now, because they're the same fabrics, I'm just going to go ahead and press to one of the 2 sides. Okay. So that's how you build these. Very simple, very easy. Now, in order to build out our checkerboard pieces or our chain pieces here and here, we're going to build these with our, let's call it that warm and cool side, or our green and red side, or however you would like to see it. But same thing. Remember, folks, I was ironing to the colored fabrics. So now I'm just going to take one of those and I'm going to rotate. I'm going to take one of those and I'm going to rotate. And the beautiful thing about this square is we can move it all around. So color position right now, you can be willy-nilly as long as you're making sure you're building some sort of a colored checkerboard here. Nest those seams together with a little bit of a squeeze if you like, and then go ahead and, because you you've made your strips, then you cut all your pieces. At this point, you could be doing chain piecing. So I did all of that sewing literally in about 45 minutes last night. Not that it's a race, but I was just watching one of my favorite shows in here and prepping for today's video. And I thought, wow, I could really get a lot of blocks made in a hurry. And then all I had to do was make some more strips. So I'll keep building this out. What you're seeing on the wall right now is a 9 patch, or 3 blocks by 3 blocks. Each block, I believe, is finishing about 12 inches. So we're already on our way to a pretty good sized quilt when I sew through the parts and pieces on the table. When it comes to this, again, it's a checkerboard. So maybe if you want to press to what you consider your darker of your colored fabrics, probably a good idea. You may want to press your seams open, but that's a little more accurate than you're going to get out of me here. And same over here. And the rest of the block assembly is all made out of simple single piece units, these white squares like you see here. And these are 4.5 inch squares, because you're really hoping these are now 4.5 inch squares as well. So I think we need 4 of them, if I remember correctly, for each of our blocks. So we're going to have one of these checkerboards here in the middle. Okay. So that's the way I like to start building this out, is just having one of my checkerboards to start with. And I am going to go ahead now and just take the white 4.5 inch square, lay it on over. So again, I'm telling you these math numbers very easily. You won't need a pattern for this one, folks, because it's, remember, we made our 2.5 inch strips, sewed those together, we cut those in, made 4.5 inch squares. It's just kind of quilty math, if you will. And at that point, what am I trying to do? Cut and talk at the same time, doesn't work too good. And so you could double this in size or make it 50% larger. So if these were like 3.5-inch strips, you would just measure when you get done, and then you make these squares the same as necessary, and blah, 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 blah. Okay, so for pressing though, I like to press away from patchwork when possible. So I'm now going to break the rules. I love breaking the rules. So I'm breaking the rules and I'm pressing away from the dark. I'm pressing right into the white fabric. But as we get going into the project, this is going to also help all of our patchwork nest back together. To keep organized, I really need to get this other piece on here right now. You notice we didn't build out the whole block on the table like we normally do. Not necessary, and I wanted to show you the fast and easy way. We're talking about chain piecing. So again, you could do this to a bunch of different center checker squares. Okay, and again now I'm going to press away from there, away from that center into the solid piece of fabric. And it's at this point we want to go ahead and slow down a bit, pay a bit of attention to what we're doing. We will have white squares here, trying to finish like a plus sign, if you will. But now here's what we want to pay attention to: our colors. We're going to go ahead and bring one chain coming through where our medium tones, our magentas, go between our purples and our reds. And then I had set it up here so that my greens go between my yellows and my blues. So what I found while building all of these squares last night is it was very simple to go ahead and just find and make sure I was sewing my white strip to this green square to begin with on both sides, because you're going to be looking at one 180 degrees different than the other. Okay, but if you get it sewn to that side, you can't necessarily, well, I guess we could sew it to the wrong side if we really wanted to, and hope you don't. It'd be great if you didn't have to use your seam ripper. But noticing I'm going to the ironing at this, it just makes, I think, it a little bit easier. Pressing into the square again, the solid patch. So pressing away from our color fabric, breaking the rules. Did I mention I love breaking the rules? How many of you out there like breaking the rules? Okay, that's what it is. Today's comment, let me know not only what a great quilt you think this is, but how many of you like breaking the rules, right? Okay, so check this out. Your color tip is up here in this area, so the color square is now going to sew over here on this area, not down here. See it? Hopefully that makes more sense. You're still thinking about whether or not you're a rule breaker. If you had to think that long if you're a rule breaker, you're probably not really a rule breaker, by the way. It's okay. Not all of us have to be rule breakers. Now again, laying that on there. Always I like to have the bulk of the fabric on the feed dog, so the new piece is always on the top of what other pieces have been stitched together, even if I have to rotate it to make that happen. Back to the wonderful heated pressing device. Onto the wool mat we go. Pressing in to the solid piece again. I was experimenting with this all as black as well. Is that right? Nope, not right. Is that right? Yep. Right? So, which is really cool, because look, if I had done the other one, see what I'm saying? It's very universal, folks, very universal. I promised it would be fast and easy. Maybe a little sloppy, but fast and easy. So now let's go ahead and deal with that side to begin with. What I'm going to do is I'm going to nest up the seams, and I'm just going to really worry about one piece at a time as I go, because most of this is going to be eased all back together as we sew, right? And then any of these that get a little wonky, as they get quilted, they just kind of come together. Now that I just came over that seam, now I'm going to make sure that my next seam down here nest, that's going to give us the perception of accuracy. And then I'm just going to go ahead and match up my bottom corner and sew it out. Last night I did this step, chain piece, chain piece, chain piece as well. So then I would just come over to the ironing station, got into the habit of pressing into the middle block, and that's because there are two patches, or two non-patchwork pieces, I guess. So always trying to press away for me from the work, because I think that it helps lay the fabric down flatter. Rotate again, just double check that your colors are all coming together in this center unit. And it's really this simple, folks. This one will be a great one for machine quilting. You can just do your doodle quilting all over it. You could do stitch in the ditch. You could run arcs from your small corners to your small corners and your big corners to your big corners, which would give kind of a neat kind of Olympic ring effect with different size circles. You could do some really fun graffiti quilting all over it. A quilt like this, of course, is really fun because you can adjust your rainbow of color or your gradient of tones within the chain. I just wanted to use the rainbow, one, because I'm still having so much fun playing with my New Worlds fabrics, and I hope you're not getting bored of it. And the reason I'm using it so often is it's also a basic, and if you haven't seen my other videos in the past, it's why I build so many of my quilts out of just basic fabrics, is I want you to all be able to participate, follow along, even when this quilt is now maybe, this video is even maybe a couple of years old, right? Just look at these fabrics, even though these are the ones that I've designed, just consider these as the colors that you're seeing, and it will be very easy for you to build your own beautiful, what are we calling this thing? The rainbow checkered chain at this point, something like that. So that's really why I love to work in basics. That's why I designed basic fabrics instead of wild and crazy fabrics, because I wanted to be able to use them for my own selfish desires, but also be able to communicate the benefit of using basics and using the stash and adding to your stash. Well, as I look around the room, I just see it's what I'm very comfortable with because all of these quilts have a similar feel, even though they all hold different fabrics within them. So it's very fun, and obviously I'm becoming very comfortable working within more of this rainbow basics palette, and it's just really entertaining. So at any rate, I've got another one of the blocks that I can add up over here onto the wall as I go to my design wall. No matter where I place it, the checkerboard's going to allow me to put it right into the proper rotation. And that's pretty cool as well. So the blocks are free. You can continually spin them and put them back together in all different directions, which is really great. Like I said, I really like having more of the checkerboard show up than the squares of fabric show up. However, if you were playing with a theme fabric because maybe you were making this quilt for a special person in that fabric, I'm just going to use the word pandas. It was the first thing that came to my head, but maybe you had your theme panda fabric there. Well, then you maybe want those squares as panda fabric, and then maybe these squares as well, but with a different coordinate. But look how this makes a tall rectangle. Maybe you could put bamboo or something like that in there. And now I'm just rambling because I really don't want you all to go away, because I miss you when I don't see you from day to day. But I'll be back on another Wednesday with another fabulous tutorial. Hey, check out the live Friday show I'm now doing. It's a lot of fun as well. You're never quite sure what I'm going to get myself into, but for all of you folks that like to find yourself out there as troublemakers, maybe you'll enjoy the Friday lives. Until then, folks, thanks again for being here. Thanks again for supporting Stitchin Heaven. Make sure you're subscribed, and we'll see you again very soon. Please stay well. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. It really helps support our channel. If you haven't subscribed, do so now. Hit the little button to be notified every time we go live or do a new video for all of you. And here's one from the past I think you'll really enjoy.